Should I quit investment banking to run a business? All things equal and statistically speaking, I would stick with banking for a few more years to gain credibility and build out your resume. When it's early in life, you are trying to acquire the best call option at the best price. As dreadful as iBanking feels it gives you tons of credibility and call option to go into PE, which is the closest thing to running a business without actually running a business. Using a binomial probability decision tree can be helpful in your situation. To get you going, here are some important things to consider for that, according to my experience. As they taught you in school, you need to build it out and figure the best, base, and worst case scenarios in place, utility and probability to each one. Others have put it correctly in that your family business at 200k rev is still basically a startup that can go under any time. So you gotta weigh the option again. What's the NPV given the probability and outcome now, percent of equity, percent of success for growth, versus the NPV a few years out? Is the opportunity to become the second in command going to disappear? How much smaller would the equity be? Mapping out other scenarios. You stick in IB for a couple of years, transition to PE for a couple of years, what are the options then? I say there is a really good chance to replicate a similar if not better opportunity to what you would have now to run the family business, especially a less than $1 company. The worst case scenario is that you have a mint resume with bulge bracket IB and PE experience for a few years without your family biz opportunity. BC your evil twin brother took it over. Worst case scenario for leaving IB now and take over family business as biz fails miserably, and now you are trying to get back into the workforce. Not everyone will be sympathetic to your case, even though it may not be your fault that the biz tanked. Without getting into psychology and Schadenfreude definitions, there will be people that would not look favorably to your early exit. Questions like these will be on people's mind. Why did he bail after just 1 year in IB? Could he just not hack the hours? Or, did he sink his family business? Finally, in terms of the utility you may place for lifestyle and all those intangibles, unless you are chasing a dream to be an elite professional athlete where your youth really counts, then, sacrificing a few years in your early 20s is not as bad as it seems. Won't go as tough on you as the other poster who said, "Get your shit together, you are only 23 or first year analyst," but I do agree with his sentiment. Trust me, it's not that bad, even though you think it's everything right now. Leverage the sunk cost element for good. You are in the middle of this grueling experience, but you are already in it. Once you stop, it will be 10x harder to go back into that track. Banking is miserable. I think you answered your own question. That's good, because no one can answer it for you. Other people's advice is inherently flawed, because it comes attached to their preconceived notions about their own lives. That's not to say that advice isn't helpful, but it's important to evaluate it in its proper context. In short, the answer to your question depends on your priorities. If I were in your shoes, I would ask myself a different question. Why am I investing years of my life doing something that makes me miserable? Trust me, I've asked this question more than once, and I've seldom been pleased with the answer. Here are some possibilities for you. Money. That's a valid reason, despite most people claiming it's not. But unless you're working toward a tangible goal, paying off debt, starting a business, etc., you're just making money you don't have time to spend. Note, becoming wealthy is not a tangible goal, since it doesn't inherently mean accomplishing anything with that wealth. Experience. Also a valid reason, but only if that experience is valuable to you. It may be valuable in different ways, intrinsically, because you're proud of what you've accomplished or enjoy doing it, extrinsically, because it's part of a greater journey, a necessary step in your career path or long-term goals. Prestige. Probably not as objectively valid as other reasons, but a reality nonetheless. Fields like investment banking are largely sustained by a culture of prestige, because there's a misplaced sexiness about them. Unfortunately, real life isn't like Boiler Room. Note, I know Boiler Room is about brokers, not bankers. Let's not get distracted by details. Sunk cost. I already spent all this time and money going to school for this job, getting hired, and spending a year of my life working here, so I can't throw it all away. You're in finance, so you know this is a bad reason. If you're even the least bit thoughtful about your life, which you obviously are, no experience will ever be wasted. Your skills and experience travel with you wherever you go, regardless of how obvious a connection they have to the task at hand. 90% of our professional lives is about learning how to communicate, read people, deal with politics, and understand the world around us. 10% is technical knowledge and experience. That ratio probably skews a bit for older, more experienced professionals, but it might be high for someone in their 20s. I'm the last person who will tell you to quit your job to become a surfing instructor or save the rainforest. But I do know this: just like investment capital, life is finite. That means it's all about priorities. The sooner you can truly understand your priorities and align your actions accordingly, the sooner you'll find meaning. I've read every single answer to your question, which I rarely do. Very interesting discussion so far, and I'll put my 5 cents as well. I am also in my mid-20s, and even though I'm 100% sure I want to become an entrepreneur, I also had similar dilemma choosing between corporate versus own business path. Here's what I see about you: you're the smart kid who could potentially do somewhat good in IB. However, you, from what I know, don't have the attitude, drive and passion for IB to really, truly thrive in this extremely competitive field. You say money is important to you, but money is definitely not your biggest motivator, otherwise you wouldn't be even considering quitting IB. I guess what you really want is to experience life, which includes a kind of balance between money, time, relationships, etc. From what I was able to observe, the guys who do very, very well in IB are the addictive type. Interestingly enough, most of them have other addictions apart from money. Think of alcohol, drugs, sex. Or mix of all. Something tells me you're not that kinda guy, neither do you want to become one of those. Perhaps I am wrong. But all that aside, the main issue now is your fear of regret. You're afraid that you will regret quitting IB cause most likely it will be hard to go back if you wish. This feeling is really familiar. On the other hand, speaking objectively, I know for a fact that logistics industry has a positive outlook, and I am personally considering to enter the field. You seem like a smart guy, so I don't see any sensible reason why you won't be able to learn how to manage and grow your family's business successfully. Be aware though, that in this logistics company you're not just an investor or financial analyst, and there's a huge difference between financial modeling and the actual day-to-day management of a company. But I am sure you will figure it all out. Again, if you are planning to try entrepreneurship, now is probably the best time. It will be much harder to quit IB in 3 to 5 years from now. Even though you might feel even more miserable then. The thing is, none of us can tell you what is best for you, because we don't really know if you're whining about IB as real frustration or a typical corporate worker complaint. Any success requires enormous amount of effort regardless, yet you better of doing something that allows you to live proper life even before you made millions, which is not guaranteed even in IB.